You are listening to Down Home. Faith, family, and community. These are the words that come to mind after having a conversation with our next guest, Nicole Johnson. Nicole is all about advancing the Black community in Nova Scotia with frank and honest discussion on her community radio show, A Seat at the Table. She also plays a vital role in community outreach in the Preston area through the public library. So stay tuned as Nicole shares her Scotian story with me and Jay. Welcome to Down Home, the Nova Scotian experience by two Black men. I'm Derek Wise, and as always, we have Jay Jones.
What's happening?
And our guest this week is Nicole Johnson, host of the Down Home radio show, Seat at the Table. Nicole, how you doing?
I'm loving life. Living and loving life. I'm doing well.
That's good to hear. This time, you're on the other side of the table.
Yeah, full disclosure. We actually visited Nicole's radio show when me and Jay were down home a couple of weeks ago.
Visiting, yeah.
And she so graciously had us on her show, and she's returning the favor for us.
Yeah.
Well, that's what family do, right? We just exchange dinner tables. That's all we do.
The best moments are the moments shared. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's true. All right, well, let's jump into it.
All right.
One thing that we didn't talk about, because we were the one being interviewed, I guess. Where did you grow up in Nova Scotia? Give us a little bit of your background, some of your story.
Wow. That's a loaded question. I am proudly a daughter of the village of the East Preston Township area, and I love my community. Absolutely love my community. Had a great childhood. My family still resides there. My grandmother, who's now 83, still lives there. Both of them. Both of my grandfathers are passed on now, but they're two there, and they're living. They're thriving. They're doing all these things, as if they're, still in their 60s. So grew up in a great large family, where there was creative play, music playing all the time, and being outdoors and just all of that. So I have a love for family. And if I could afford a big family, I would do it the way that I was raised in. And that's always, making room at the table. And that's what we did. I know back in the day, they made those comments about children should be seen and not heard. I hate that term. Because you don't know if something's going on with the kid and they're trying to tell you something, you keep shoving them off. That never happened in our household. So I thank God for my grandparents. I thank God because she pretty much raised us. So from East Preston, one of the Black communities east of Dartmouth. And historically, we're a proud people. And, we've been through some challenges, and they shoved us up there in that community so we can die off. But the people cultivated the land. So for that, I'm proud of them. And they've been, trying to keep it real. I don't know if you guys understand that scripture that comes out of the Bible that says, what good can come out of Nazareth? What good can come out of East Preston, North Preston, Cherrybrook, and Lake Loon? A lot. And a lot has. You've got people who are running their own businesses, Black-owned businesses. You have people who are, educators and teaching our children, right? You have people who are also, achieving senators and lieutenant governors and all of these great things, right? And again, to the very basic raising a family, in this day and age, and getting through COVID. So I'm proud of that. I'm proud of my people for coming through.
Yeah, definitely. So. I have roots in both Cherrybrook and the Preston area as well.
Are you related to the Drummonds by any chance?
No. The Preston area would be Wilson.
Okay.
And Cherrybrook area is Wise.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So I feel you. I didn't grow up in the area, but I visited many a summer. So definitely I feel you. I understand where you're coming from.
Mm-hmm. I mean, down home was really like people didn't used to lock their doors. They do now, right? So you can go to
Yeah.
someone's house and feel welcome, right?
Yeah.
Nobody's stopping you at the door. I mean, now it's different because of all of the violence and stuff that's been going
Yeah.
on. So people that makes people edgy, right?
Mm.
And because again, where that street code where you're just kind of like stitches and not all. I don't.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But that's just how it is,
Mm.
is that feeling of home, that familiarity of both, whether you, just like you guys, when you came down home, things have changed around you,
Yeah.
but family has still remained the same.
Yeah.
Oh.
There was really that sense of spirit that I felt.
Right.
Like the vibe was in the air. I was like, go ahead, Nova Scotia. There's all kinds of condos, but I can feel you.
Well, on our way to your show,
right.
We stopped. Remember, Jay? We stopped in at the Tim Hortons there down the street.
Yeah, yeah.
And this lady, I'm outside waiting for Jay, and this lady comes by and goes, "You look like a Mumberket."
Oh yes, you sure.
and the thing is though, those are my cousins. So
there you go.
Like we have like a half-hour conversation about family and where we're from and where our people are from and where we are now. And that's something that like I said during your radio, we took that for granted back in the day.
Yeah.
And we going home this time around, we embraced it definitely.
Yeah. I think doing this podcast sort of has been so nostalgic and has opened that door. So it was like we were ready to just see what was in store, and the stories that we've come up with and we've seen and the changes, it all lends to this like kind of just amazing thing of being from Nova Scotia, even though there's still problems there to face and everything.
Right. Yeah.
But just like you said, the family, the spirit, that sense of community, Derek just said it. Now looking back, oh man, it was so strong. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, talking about community, can you give us a little bit of a rundown on your work that you do with the public library?
Oh my gosh, I love it. So here's the best part about this thing. I get to live, play, work in my community, get paid to do it. Who doesn't love that, right? I love it. I get to be creative. I serve my community as the Preston Township community specialist, and that doesn't mean that I'm a specialist, that I know the expert of it. It means that it's my role is to focus and specifically bring service and programs specific to the Preston Township area. Our needs are different. Our hopes and dreams are different, right? We may be cast down, but we are high achievers in everything that we do. So those things need to reflect the community, not bring in them, what the library or a big organization like that feel that they need. So I just make sure that, hey, we got people over here that we need to serve. So, I have this mandate on me to make sure that they're looked after. And that's what I do, right down to the kids. We got a summer reading club going, and we're in the schools. We're going to go to schools in the morning and get them registered and get them excited and all of that stuff. And then I want to do like a seniors tea luncheon with the seniors, put our fascinators and our big hats on like they do back in AUBA days, right? And just, bring all that back, dressing up and in your finest. And then the youth, of course, getting them on the golf course outside of basketball, introducing them to different things and partnering with the BLM Golf in Golf, Nova Scotia, trying to do things differently to help them expand their horizon. We want to make sure that, like I said, the community is looked after and they're exposed to, all these good programs and services that the Halifax Public Library has to offer them.
Yeah. Now, being from the community, do you find that being able to outreach and approach people in the community, it's a little bit easier? You might know where they're coming from and who they are and stuff like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'm a relationship builder. I'm always out there doing things. Maybe I'm a little too perky for some people, but that's okay. That's just who I am. And I make no apology for that anymore. I used to.
Oh, really?
Because, young ladies like myself, supposed to be handled with care kind of thing. And at least that's how I was raised. So, I used to be concerned about what people thought, not cared, but concerned. So I always try to appropriate myself and be aware of my surroundings. So it just helps me how I move in life and just be happy. I celebrate everything, right? And because I feel that if you bring the energy, somebody else who might be low can catch that, and then they forget about what problems they're suffering or going through, whatever. So I always try to, I feel like, I think I told you guys, I feel like the littlest hobo the last time
Oh,
we were
yes.
talking. Like,
Yeah.
like
Oh,
that's
let's
what I
not
feel like.
let's not mention that. You get Jay singing again.
Yeah, it's the tune just popped into my head. Uh-oh, look out.
No, but I do, and I love that, and that's the thing that stuck with me, right? Like, I remember struggling with that because I had to decide who I wanted to be, the one that fits in other people's worlds and kind of molds into what they want to be, or be what God created me to be. So I had to deal with me on that.
Yeah.
And then God dealt with me on that. And I'm so glad because he defined that moment for me. Right? You were created for this, this, and this.
Yeah.
And I was like, so when I got that awakening,
it was easy. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like pulling that car into park, when you finally get your cruise control on. I'm good. So I like me. I like hanging with me. I'm okay with me. I love
That's
it.
good.
That's right?
And I think the love for people thrives me. I think that's the energy I run on.
Yeah.
And again, I credit my grandmother. I credit my mom. My gosh, my mother is a young spirit. And I love her for that. I used to struggle with that because in a child's mind, that's my mom. Why is she acting like this? She's a little too, friendly, blah, blah, blah. And one of her friends, and I said that to her a couple of weeks ago, thank you for saying what you said to me years ago. She said, what was that? I said, you helped me come to terms with that. I have a young mother and I have to allow her to be her. And after I got that, I didn't have that pressure to put on mom to make her feel like she was being a bad mother. She wasn't. I just didn't understand that she was a young mother.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So she still was, she was young and she had me and my grandmother raised me. So, she's still living out her young life. So
yeah. I mean, it happens to a lot of people, and we don't realize it until later on. But I mean, self-awareness is the key to finding out who you are. And it sounds like, you have that community support to, and now be who you are as a woman. And speaking of community, what was your idea surrounding seat at the table? Like, was it the community? Was it some sort of inspiration you had?
So I got this burst of thought, go to the station, because I was just there doing an interview myself, and pitch the idea. What idea? I'm having this whole conversation. What idea? So he painted the picture, a seat at the table, at your dinner table. You always welcome people here. You make them feel comfortable at that door, that they take off their shoes because they don't want to dirty up the floor. You have the table prepared. So they know that you have been prepared for them all day. The food is blessed because you're singing and dancing all over it. And now you're going to sit down and have a great conversation where they get to be comfortable, where they get to relax and even open up. And then you're going to serve dessert and you're going to get happy again because now you got sugar high, right? And then the vulnerabilities, then the connection. So it came out of that because we've never, as a people, as a woman, have been invited to certain tables. And people want to speak for us. People think that they know what we want. So I always open up that idea of a seat at the table because I want people to have that platform to tell their stories the way they want to tell it. And nobody can tell that for us, right? So, and the best person who can to explain what they've been through and who they are is themselves in their own voice. So a seat at the table, I had two other names that I thought, because I know it was about conversation. I knew it was about conversation, comfortable, casual, community-based conversation. And so that's how I pitched it. That's how I derived that, because it kept coming to me. I had like a conversation with Coco. That's what the kids call me.
Conversation with Coco.
Conversation. That's what I had.
I like
and
it.
And then I had coffee and cocoa because I was going to do like one of the local coffee makers. We do a brew of the week and we talk around coffee. Yeah. But I'm not a coffee drinker. But see, Coco is more so, like I said, my nickname. But it also ties in food.
Yeah.
So that's kind of wanted to get around the table and talk about food and then, and then break bread with conversations. So
cool.
Well, see at the table kind of encompasses a lot of those elements though, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It does.
Certainly
right?
does. Now, you mentioned when we first met, you were telling us an inspirational story about your grandmother, who I guess is now 84. Is that?
Yes,
Yeah,
83.
83. But
If you
she's
catch
in
me.
school or going back to school.
Yes, she is. And it's
Yeah.
always been her dream. She's always wanted to be an educator, a teacher. She had kids. She had
Hmm.
7 kids, adopted others, foster cared. She's always been focused on her family. And she
Yeah.
always knew that one day she would like to do that. And so at 75, yeah, 75, she went back to school.
Oh, wow.
And she's been doing it ever since. Math, public speaking, computers,
Really?
which came into play because when COVID happened, that's how we all try to connect, communicate, and Zoom and Facebook and all
Hmm.
that stuff.
Hmm.
So she kind of had to get to that place
She
to
embraced it.
communicate. She did. And
Yeah.
she was comfortable. She didn't know everything, but she was. So now she's just thriving. She does, prayers at church. She does sharing her story. My grandmother went through almost a health scare, which I thought more so happened because of the family,
Hmm.
what we were going to do in that moment. Either we're going to break apart or come together, and we
Yeah.
came together. I don't think
Hmm.
it was about her, if I can put it that way. So we always rally around her. She's the gathering point right now.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And we always have Sunday dinners at her house, and it's
Yeah.
a full house, but there's always plenty of food.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Well,
yes, I'm very proud of her.
yeah, that's a great inspirational story for us all. But with that being said, Black women are the anchors of our communities
Yes,
in Nova
they are.
Scotia. Talk about how your elders contributed to you to give you the confidence to put yourself at the forefront. I know you said you struggled with being the person that you are now back then. So was it a combination of things that really made you step into yourself?
Well, okay. I guess I should clarify. I've always liked me. I never had those depressing moments. Those low points.
Hmm.
And I'm not saying that to be better than anybody. I'm just
No,
saying
no, no.
I've never had that. But what I did come to understand, there's always been women in my life who have left an imprint on my heart, left an imprint on my life that was lasting, whether it's something that they said, something that they did, something that I caught at the corner of my eye that really blessed me.
Hmm.
And I add that. I try to weave that in so that I can be that person. So it could have been a single person, a single mother at church who I see, struggling to raise their kids in the ways of the Lord, right? By herself, but she's doing it. She's pushing through it and trying to do this right. Whether it's, a woman that I see on the street who shows love and affection towards her husband. That's not always the case that we get to see. But that tells me there's always a hope and a promise to find some good love. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So I try
Hmm.
I try to look for women who are strong in their faith because they're keeping their family together. And that
Hmm.
is the important thing, especially right now, keeping
Hmm.
the family unit together. And as strong Black women, that always rests on our shoulders.
Yeah.
Is that the natural order of things? Maybe not, but that's the way it is right now.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's looking at the example of my history, the matriarch of my family was my grandmother.
Yeah.
And your story sounds awfully familiar because that's where we went to have Sunday dinner. And
Yeah.
Hmm.
she was the one that we gathered around. She was the one that held our faith.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Deaconess at the local church. She was a community leader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was it was, not to bring the conversation down, it was a huge loss when our family lost her.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of
And
course.
losing that linchpin that held everyone together.
Hmm.
It yeah.
I think of a story, and I'll share this. I was 12. I'm going to cry. But what my grandmother did for me in that moment was awesome. So we were 12 kids, Sunday school, sitting up on the balcony. My grandmother's downstairs. We're in church, and I think it's, I don't know if it's Easter Sunday or something because there's a lot of people at church. But we're just being kids. My cousins on this side, and my school friends on this side, and they're back and forth talking and whatever, doing things we're not supposed to be doing. So anyhow, I heard an altar call from Reverend Donald Spear, who's now passed on, but one
Oh,
of the
yes.
yes, you guys know.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, he's this big voice is thundering through, will you come? Will you come? And I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, like what is that? As a kid, that's kind of scary and intimidating. So anyway, I finally got up out of my seat, which felt like a tug of war, and went to the altar. And I was crying and I covered my face, kind of thing, or I just stood there. And my grandmother comes up. I didn't even see her. She comes up and she squeezed me for more than 30 seconds. And when you hold somebody for 30 seconds, it releases something.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember her in my right ear saying, God, use her. That stuck with me. That still gets me to this day.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we got home, this is the best part for me. She made the announcement to the family. This is what my baby girl did, because I was the youngest of her. I felt like I just made her proud that I did something. All I did was respond to what I heard. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so for me, you don't know that stuff. But back in the day, they used to make you go in the woods in the dark. And I'm thinking, like, my grandma said, no, we're not doing that, because she knew that there was a real real experience. And she wanted me to tell it the way it happened.
Yeah.
Which was the truth. Don't make anything up. Tell them, you know what I mean? And so I think that's always been something that resonated with me, is her encouraging to tell the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Let people know your story, because they'll connect with it however they connect with it.
Yeah.
And I think that's also probably why A Seat at the Table got birthed out of. It's just telling the truth, giving that platform, these conversations that we're having now, to share our stories, our commonalities.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And being vulnerable, if you can do it in a comfortable space, you really do open up, and you really see how you connect. Because sometimes your vulnerabilities can leave you to shy away, and you think you're the only one dealing with it, but that's not the case. But having a seat at the table, bringing that community together, and that vibe is really a good thing that you're doing. It's important work. And for people to tell their story, so, and you got good vibes, girl. You know what I'm saying?
So how did you all feel? I'm sorry, I know I'm not the interviewer, but how did you all feel? How did y'all feel? Did you feel at home?
Yeah, definitely. You right from the get, you welcomed us, and you welcomed us to the table. And I think your vibe was natural. I think we had a great conversation.
Yeah, we did.
Definitely.
We did.
Yeah. So it was great. It was a great experience. Definitely.
Yeah.
I think and Jay was really juiced because he got to perform there, man.
He did. Yeah. And I got lots of good response to that. So
oh, really?
Cool.
Yeah, I did. We're like, who's those guys?
That's cool. No, we listened to the interview, and it was great. You guys did a great job.
You happy with it? You're happy with it?
Yeah, it was cool. It was just it was a good all around vibe. Like, we're talking about important stuff and keeping it light, and and just doing what you just described,
My sister said, when I came home, my sister said, you had your mouth all over that mic. Them boys made you laugh. She said, you must have really enjoyed that, because you just let it all. And I think, listen, sometimes it's just, again, like you said, the vibe. But again, it's enjoying that moment with people, right? Like, and letting the natural thing happen, which is, developing something. Because we don't know what the future is going to hold for us. We know there's a future, but we don't know what's connected to that, right? So
True.
So,
and and one of the other things too, even doing the podcast, I'm sure you can relate, is as we do these interviews with people and we're asking them questions, you listen more, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So and you see the flip side of how people are opening up, and you kind of maybe have to delve a little deep to ask those questions to get them to open up, so the rapport just becomes a natural thing, as people, just as connecting, especially out of COVID. We do ours on Zoom, but there's always sort of been that great thing that having communication when we didn't have it.
I've always been a good listener, though. So
true. Yeah, true.
Well, the thing is, the common thing that I hear people say whether they ask me to be on the show, or I'm thinking, okay, they'll be great for the show, whatever. However it comes about, they're like, yeah, but I'm shy. I don't know what to say, and I know that they do, right? So it's even in that conversation when we're talking, and I said, see what we're doing right now? That's what the show's about.
Yeah.
Like, so when they get in there, they're all nervous. Everybody, people know who they are, where they're from, but they seem to stumble over that. And then when we get past segment 1, they're having fun. Oh my God, this is fun. What a great experience.
Right? That is one thing with this type of format. It's a lot of it. There's a lot of preparation, and there's a lot of reaching out.
Yes.
How do you find that? Like, is it natural for you?
Yeah, like it just seems like I never really had to chase people. I've always tried to have somehow it just, okay, I think about the person and then I run into them. It's like, dang, okay,
Ah.
right? Or somebody will say after, listening to a show, it's like, how does one get on your show? Or I'm talking to somebody and what I'm hearing is great material, great story to share. It's like, you should consider coming on my show. So like what
Mhm.
we were talking about, what we just talked about.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
yesterday I was in a community meeting, the community mobilization team. And we have little pockets in each community, but we work together. So when the crisis happen, we come together to kind of help mobilize and stabilize community, whether they're out of sorts and just going through stuff. And they brought in a special speaker, and she's a mental health nurse.
Mm.
So we talk about mental health. I ask people all the time, what their thoughts, feelings are. I can ask the questions, but I can't give special professional advice or anything like that. I
Mhm,
can let them
mhm.
tell their
Yeah.
stories where they are. But when I spoke with her, I said, I really would love to have you on the show so we can speak to some really good things. And her vulnerability is what attracted me to her,
Mhm.
right? She
Yeah,
has a
yeah.
son who's in jail. She has a son
Mm.
who's, struggling with, who he is.
Yeah.
And yet, she's in this high level of position that she could speak to that and share her story.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so it's always about helping those who are listening. I don't know who's out there listening, but I
Mhm.
hope that we would leave them, in a better place, not a bitter place.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, having these conversations is a good thing about everything. Derek and I have different guests on talking about different topics of conversation, but it all lends to the same place of us being able to express it and not keep everything inside. And that's a little bit of a stigma. I mean, it's a
Right.
little bit more. It's getting better.
Right. It is.
Mental health is being more. It's more accessible than it was before, and maybe the parents are getting a little bit softer and sort of helping and guiding their children towards whatever they
Mm-hmm.
may need.
Yeah.
Because they learned from their past.
Right.
But yeah, these are all good things because they reopen doors that we never thought to open before, or ones that we thought were closed.
Yeah.
So I think we're at an important time. For
Well,
everyone to lend their voice.
also, just on the flip side, conversations like these are not an unusual thing for our community in Nova Scotia, our Black community in Nova Scotia. These are conversations that were happening around the kitchen table,
Yeah,
Right
very
on.
true.
with
Yeah.
Yeah.
our
Good
elders,
point.
right?
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
a lot, I was always a really quiet kid, so I was the kid in the corner that was listening to all this stuff. But I remember, my family having similar conversations while they're playing dominoes or whatever,
Yeah,
in the
true.
kitchen.
Yeah.
So these are just extensions
Yeah.
of our history,
Right on.
Carrying
Right
on the
on.
traditions that we already grew up with. It's funny how that happens, man. You really do become a product for your environment,
Right.
Mm,
Yeah, you do.
so
very true.
When you guys do your, I'm going to ask you the same questions. So is there a struggle of like, do you guys stay on the same topic? Do you have different varieties? Like, how do you, because I thought about what's the content of the show, and do I want, it to be known for, or just a broad sense? Because I like common everyday people to
Mhm.
Yeah.
politicians, like, what's happening right now. But make it where it's inviting. So how do
Mhm.
you guys, what's your
Well,
guys'
we're
style?
quite broad. When our first year at it, the first what was it, like 30 odd episodes, we really tried to zero in on topics that surrounded the Black community in Nova Scotia exclusively. And then the second group of podcasts, from around 30 to 40, we really tried to expand a little bit more
Yes.
and encompass, like we had um, uh, a young woman talk about the residential schools,
Right.
and the indigenous population.
Hmm.
We've had health professionals. We've talked about critical race theory and things of that nature. And we've all in as well. We've from Jay's influence, we've had a few artists on as well that are relatively well known, and just getting their artistic spin on things, and as well as their voice on what's going on in our community as well.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's kind of expanded to look at what people of color are dealing with in Canada, um, But, you know, we always the linchpin is Nova Scotia and our community in Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
It always comes back to that.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah, we're definitely taking that spirit with us and sort of lending it to something else. And, you know, just with everything that's going on in the world, like it's broadened my horizons just in the sense of looking at things from the standpoint of political, of systemic racism, all those things I knew were going on, but it forced us to delve a little bit deeper into why these things continue to keep happening. And, you know, I think we should talk about them. Talk about them,
You know, when I think about that, like in terms of the science class, we put things under a microscope and we study them out, right? And we really see what they're made of, and we'll really see what's creeping and crawling around in there. Some people aren't comfortable with that.
Yeah, true.
You know, like you put them on, they're exposed, I guess, in some way, or you dissect, you know, how gross, how ugly, but because sometimes you have to get to the heart of a thing, right?
Yeah.
I was sitting in the office today, and one of the coworkers asked me this question, so I might bring somebody on the show to talk about that. What do you think about this thing about the Black excellence in school, Nicole? What do you think about wearing black? And some people are bothered by that, right? Because tomorrow is supposed to be Black Excellence Day in the schools.
Yeah.
And they're like, who's making these decisions for us? And how is this a good idea? It's like the same thing as, you know, Black History Month. We're not just Black for a month.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You want us to celebrate something we've been living our whole life.
Well, just we had a guest on a little while ago, and we got to reach out to her again because she expressed a desire to come back. But we talked about how we kind of swim in the sea of the cultural majority, right? We kind of we swim in a sea of whiteness, right? And she said, yeah, and you know, some of us sink, some of us swim well in it. And she said, yeah, they're giving out awards for people that swim well in it.
Yeah,
that's your Black excellence.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
That's,
you know, I'm going back with my answer on that one. I said, leave it with me. I'll get back to you.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's a good one. No, no, honestly, and these are touchy subjects. Like, I don't know if they're expecting people to walk on those ideas and get all excited about it, but these are, you know, like even my boss said to me, she said, Nicole, I had to write a letter to the principal. Now she has a relationship with this principal, and she said I had to break it down to them because they don't know. And we're supposed to just accept these things and go along with these things, right? But there's more to it than just that. Right?
It is.
There's feelings attached to it. There's history attached to it.
Yeah. It goes a lot. It goes deep.
Yeah, it does. It does. It does. You know, I mean, I don't know how I feel about it necessarily. I understand, like, of course we want to celebrate Black excellence. And even we're in conversations right now to have our own award show to recognize people in areas of business, film, business, you know what I mean? Have our own award show, you know, minus the Will Smith and all of that stuff, right?
Yeah. No slapping.
We're gonna do it right. We want to do hand clapping, not clapping, right?
Soul clap, not soul slap. Sorry, Will Smith.
That one. No, but even, you know, that, and bring me on the show again if you guys are having this conversation about this whole Will Smith thing, or it's probably a dead subject at this point, but I don't think it'll ever be, because we, you know, family don't fight in public.
No, it's true.
And we shouldn't do that. Deal with it. I'm not saying don't deal with it, but don't drag all that stuff out in the street. There's enough out in the street already.
Yeah, so very true.
Find a way to kind of like express your feelings. Let you know how I feel. I remember long time ago, we were only little, but my sister got mad with me and I didn't care. She said, I'm mad at you. And she said, I'm going to be mad at you the whole week. I said, and after that week is gone, we'll be talking again. And then she just, and guess what? Talking to me an hour later. So like, you know what I mean? Like, so we got to be okay when people, you know, get in their feelings, that it's not the end of the world. But it's nothing to kill them over. It's nothing for us to kind of stop speaking over. But some people's hearts get really hard over that stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, trauma. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, trauma is just a real thing that a lot of people are carrying. And, you know, sometimes we don't even know we're carrying it. Despite family trauma, you got the trauma of the world that can, like, there's a collective trauma that we all go through too, you know, and that finds its way. it leaks into everything else, right? And if you got one part you're dealing with, it leaks into other things, and then you might have that moment of truth, like, why did the straw break the camel's back? Because there's a million other ones underneath it. You know what I'm saying? You know, that's how you break it down to a simple science.
Jay Jones, he's full, but anyway,
I'm full of something.
That sentiment, Nicole, though, that sentiment of family doesn't fight in public, though, that bond that brings us together as a community in Nova Scotia, it's funny because, like, I think about it differently now, but back in the day, it's like, well, you know, they're from here, I'm from the North End, it even got even smaller than that. I live around Mulgrave Park. Those they're down by the square. Like, it was always separating, man. There's more that links us together than separates us. But back in the day, oh my goodness, man, we were all into separating ourselves, man.
Territories.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because I remember we were just talking about this the other day, how my grandmother, I don't know why, but she let us go stay over our cousin's house who lived in Mulgrave Park. So we were excited, right? Because we didn't think we were staying overnight. She left us there. And she did, Mama, you may be hearing the story, but I'm telling the truth. So she left us there. But they had a party, right? So that was one way. Anyway, it was fine. We all, we hung out with our cousins, stuff like that. But here's the thing. We always thought Halifax was bad. Like, that was the worst place to go. Mulgrave Park. And then so the first night, one of the neighbors had a heart attack. So that even fortified it even more. Like, oh my gosh, get us out of here, right? So it was just like one thing after the other that was trying to make it appear that place, that community was bad, right? But we stayed, we learned about communities, we made friends over there. So I feel that when you tough things out, you don't let that fear hold you or hold you captive. You don't give into it, right? You kind of work it out. Okay, this is okay. We survived it or whatever. Now, did we go back and never stay over again? No. No. But it didn't stop us from going out. It didn't stop us, from hanging downtown and whatever like that. But as a child, if you're always here that something's this, something's that. You tend to go up with that until you have your own life experiences that breaks that lie, or crushes that lie. But you can see it through your own truth, right?
Sometimes you got to unlearn what we were taught,
right? That one.
So true. True. My goodness.
Because we become conditioned, right?
Or stuck.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuck people out here, y'all.
Very much so.
There is. Nicole, thank you very much for coming on and giving us a little bit of your voice. Do you have anything before we wrap up?
I thank you both, actually. I feel that we'll be friends for a long time. So I really appreciate that element coming out of this. And for your listeners, I just want to encourage people to be true to yourself. I know you hear this all the time, but love on yourself. You owe yourself that. Don't give up on your dreams. Don't give up on yourself. And, your family, that's your bedrock right there. So if you got people who are out there straying and don't know how to open the door so they can come back home. That's all I would say.
Awesome.
Down home.
Down home.
Word to the mother. Yeah, man. Nicole, you're just a good vibe, good energy, a good soul, doing so many good things for your community and bringing people together. That's important. It's important, that element of community, because, although we've been expats for a while, when we went back, we saw some of that not really there, but you're proof that it still is there, and what is left is worth fighting for, and at least to continue that spirit and those things where the next generation can be taught those things to open up and be themselves. And being true to yourself is the truest thing you can do. And sometimes it's a little bit of a journey, but it's not a race, it's a marathon. But when you have people that are talking about these things and inspiring each other, then we're in the right place to be. Thanks for coming on, and it's good to return the favor.
No,
Thank you, Nicole.
Pleasure. Anytime you need me, I'm here.
All right. We'll be in touch.
Okay.
Breaking new ground, breaking new ground, breaking new ground, breaking new ground.
You have been listening to Down Home. Subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
Breaking new ground, 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 yeah. On a high plateau, from the one down below to the future of the funk, getting lost in the flow. Contact with the spark magex. Now it's time to flex with the force from the soul, reaching all aspects, getting deep, no time to sleep. As you reach your next phase, laying it all on the line. New trails start to blaze, it's a fire inside. A brand new path, breaking down the sum to one. Feeling free, I just laugh with the joy of a beat boy, just kicking it live. A connection so
The song, Breaking New Ground, from The Breakdown.
like a diamond in the rough, ready to drop a perfect gem. It's time to shine so fine to see what you find. Revolution starts with the evolution.